Instagram's latest AI feature has been scrapped less than a week after it was rolled out, following backlash from the public and a Hollywood actors union. Meta's Muse tool let users generate AI images using photos from public posts on the platform. Peter Griffin is Business Tech podcast host, joins us this morning. Peter, good morning.
Morning.
So, what? Instagram thought this was a great idea and public said it's a terrible idea, and so they've actually listened?
Yeah, they pulled it literally within a couple of days, Ryan, and that's great. I think hopefully this is the beginning of a backlash, a consumer backlash against the sort of wanton use of our images and our content for AI tools. This was there was an opt-out of this. You had to go into Meta and tick a box to actually say, no, you can't use my Instagram photos to feed these AI generation tools. Best practice obviously is opt-in. So that was billions and billions of images that could have been manipulated and used to create images. Obviously, the Screen Actors Guild was very upset about this because a lot of actors use Instagram as their primary internet presence. So you'd have stars potentially having their images manipulated and republished. So terrible practice. And Meta, of course, is a company that's sort of flooding Facebook with AI slop. So hopefully it sends a message to them that, if you're going to do this sort of stuff, consumers need to give their consent that their images can be used.
Hey, I haven't asked you about this in advance, Peter, so feel free to just move on and we keep talking about it. But I noticed in Australia, Anthropic, which is the big AI American company, they have asked nicely the Australian government to change their copyright laws so that they can mine all this text and data that's copyrighted out of Australia, copyrighted art, music, all that stuff, to train its AI Claude system. Basically, what we do to the oceans, bottom trawling, all of their copyrighted data, they're asking the Australian government to change the law. Now, Musk, as you know, has just gone and done it anyway, not asking permission, they just do it. But isn't that interesting? And do you think we should let them?
Well, there's a supposed quid pro quo with this arrangement. These big AI companies are saying we will spend billions of dollars putting data centers in Australia, so we will generate economic development. And in return, you put some more provisions in your copyright law to allow us to do this mining, which I think is a really bad idea. But maybe there's some middle ground where it's easier for copyright holders to give their consent for their data to be used. That's a bit of a clunky process at the moment. But the wholesale, putting a provision in saying that you can take everything to train your models, I think copyright holders would absolutely hate that. And I just don't think it's going to fly. The billions that they're putting into the economy actually serves those companies because they need data centers in this part of the world. So they're going to actually build that infrastructure anyway.
Right, so they're just trying to get something at the same time.
Absolutely.
I find that fascinating because my gut is like bugger off. You're not taking all of our copyrighted stuff so you can dump a data center in Invercargill.
Yeah, and use a lot of water and electricity at the same time. So there needs to be a rebalancing of equity between consumers and these tech companies. And we're starting to see it particularly around the backlash against data centers.
Hey, the other day, we're out of time, but I don't really care at this point. The other day I got grokked, the app where you can... So a friend of mine sent me a photo, and this is a friend of mine who's married and his wife and children, we're all in a photo together. And he is leaning over and kissing me on the lips. And he sent me this and he was like, remember this? And I went, no. And then he was like, oh, it was from last summer or something. And I thought, maybe we'd done it as a joke, like we'd kissed each other as a joke. Anyway, I thought nothing more of it. I thought, maybe we'd had a few beers and we thought it'd be funny to kiss in the photo. And I thought nothing more of it. And then yesterday I bumped into him and he said, did you laugh? Did you think that was funny? And I was like, well, what? I mean, did it not happen? And he said no. Him and his mates got onto this app, and they were doing it with lots of different people. And he showed me some of his friends kissing their other friends, some of their wives kissing other husbands, just for shits and giggles. And I was like, this is outrageous. It looks so real, Peter.
Well, it's a real problem, and obviously Grok got in serious trouble, particularly in the European Union, for putting people, in bikinis and semi-naked. So they had to backtrack from that. But I think more generally, just the line between what's fake and what's real, the rise of deepfakes is actually really concerning. For something like that, it's just mildly embarrassing. When you start getting into sort of anti-democratic type things in the run-up to elections, that's when I think we'll see a big backlash. And I think it's coming. The wave of AI slop and AI-generated content on these platforms is just ridiculous now.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And is there any real way to know, to the untrained eye, what is real and what's fake at this point?
Well, you can feed. There are tools on the web where you can feed these photos in, and it will flag them as AI generated. But the reality is, most people are flicking through their news feed and seeing, ridiculous bulls chasing people around a backyard and thinking, "Oh my God, where did that happen? Was that in India?" It looks so real, and this is the quality of these tools and the length of the videos and that they can produce is getting longer and longer. And that's why Hollywood is so upset about this, because they see a lot of their business being sort of undermined by tools you can buy off the shelf really cheaply.
Moral of the story, stop kissing people's husbands. Yeah, it's a good advice.